This is Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Shake that fire.
Wake your fuck ass up.
Demonstrates.
Sway in the morning, Shade 4-5, 13 minutes past the top of the hour. Wow. I'm just sitting here reading because that's what we have to do when we have guests that we've never met before, personally met before. You just have to start reading some things. Maybe I know this or maybe I don't that. Credits include NYPD Blue, The Practice, Ally McBeal, Gilmore Girls, Star Trek The Next Generation, and The Outer Limits. Citizens, welcome to the show. Film, I'm going to add to this, and television director, the one and only Mr. Adam Nimoy. Woo! Exciting. We were sitting here while the music was playing, discussing music. I didn't have a chance to ask you before the mics went live. Adam, welcome to the show. Do you listen to hip hop?
I do not listen to hip hop. I'm a classic rock kind of guy. I'm sorry to say. I love hip hop and I like having it in the background when I'm working, but I keep it down real low and I have no idea who's playing or what artist is on. But mostly when I'm cranking it up, it's classic rock.
So why do you have it playing in the background when you're working? Like who's in your playlist and why do you have hip hop?
I just have hip hop stations on Sirius, just like real low, because I like the groove and it just keeps me working. I'm writing all the time. I'm at my computer. We're editing stuff all the time, and I just like it's just great. You know, I hate to say it, but it's just great background wallpaper music for me. I just kind of dig it.
No, that's real though. It's just nice to hear. Any favorite hip hop artists, even it's okay. Jay-Z.
I love Jay-Z.
Eminem,
absolutely.
Kendrick Lamar.
You got it.
I just
Little Uzi.
Little Uzi.
Oh, absolutely.
I just love asking that. Well, you're here today to talk about For the Love of Spock. You raised the money on a Kickstarter campaign, which I find absolutely interesting because bringing up hip hop again, a lot of times artists have now started this thing, especially artists that we love, where they go to Kickstarter, they raise the money, they get the money early, and then the project either never comes out or it comes out a year or two after the date that they deliver it. You actually got your money ahead of schedule as well. How much pressure was it for you then to deliver on time?
Well, the pressure was that we needed to get the film out in time for all these film festivals we want to get into. The pressure was that we were coming up on the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, the original series, tomorrow.
Yeah, it was people here. Come on, give it up, Adam. We got a crowd here for you, baby.
We love that. So we had to be ready in time for that. That was the whole point, to have this film ready for people to celebrate half a century of Star Trek.
Sway did a film called The Cycle. It's a short. I've kind of worked on some films, independent films as well, and we had to do the whole film festival game. Is it like more political? Is it easier being with your legacy and your heritage? How does the whole film festival game actually work? Because sometimes you get into a really good film festival, and other times it's like, this is some bullshit. Like, how did I end up here? How does that work, Adam?
Well, we just we select the ones that we think are really important for our film, that are geared towards our type of film, and submit to them. We didn't get into everything. We got into a lot of stuff. Some things we were simply not going to be ready for. Earlier this year, we ended up at the Tribeca Film Festival here in New York City, and that's where we premiered this film. You know, we had our Kickstarter campaign in June of last year, and then by April of this year, we had our film. We've done some tweaking since April, but pretty much we had the film finished by then, so we worked very fast. But I had I have a lot of filmmaking experience in my background because I've been in TV for 10 years, so I knew a little something about the game, and we had a really good staff working with me, but we had a huge amount of material to go through. This is the legacy of Leonard Nimoy and Star Trek. There's 50 years of stuff that we had to get through. Yeah. But we had a plan also. You have to have kind of a game plan to begin with to focus on getting the job done. And then when we premiered at Tribeca, then a lot of other film festivals started coming out and approaching us. After that, we went to Montreal, and we've been in San Francisco. We're going to be going, Florida wants us. We're going to be going to Spain with this film, and it's just been a great ride, and I'm really looking forward to opening it on Friday.
Can you give a little bit of advice then? Say if someone is a director at home and they have a film, would you, because I know you have to pay a lot of times to enter these film festivals, there's a fee. Would you suggest that they only shoot for the ones that they want to get into, or you just kind of apply for as many as possible and it's worth putting out the money? How, answer that when we come back, but just how would you kind of advise someone to do that? He's here, citizens. You have any questions? Adam Nimoy, 888-742-3345. Maybe he can help you out and guide you if you have a film on the table.
For the black and the blue, for the song, step into my levy drum.
My life has become much more about family. I used to, the way I describe it now was I used to major in career and minor in family. And now I've turned it around. I'm much more majoring in family and minoring in career. I do an occasional pop-up thing here and there for friends, but mostly I'm dealing with my family.
So here we are. You are a man, an individual, very bright, talented, goal-oriented, sensitive, and a lot of other good things. Above all, I want you to know that you are priceless to me. I'm proud of you and I deeply love you. Your father.
That was from the documentary For the Love of Spock, directed by Adam Nimoy, son of legendary actor Leonard Nimoy. I haven't had a chance to see the doc yet, Adam, but DB, our film and television junkie over there, he's seen it. DB, he wanted to jump in and ask some questions. If you don't mind.
I have two questions real quick. First one was, unfortunately, your father passed during the making of this documentary. So at the time of his passing, did that shift the direction you were going while you were filming while he was still alive?
Yeah, I mean, when I was working with my dad, he was very clear that he wanted to make it a Spock doc from beginning to end because he didn't want it to be the Leonard Nimoy show. It's a guy of great humility and didn't want to blow his own horn, really. It was going to be very much centered on Spock. But after he passed away, there was such an outpouring of emotion, not only for the loss of Spock, but Leonard Nimoy, the artist, the Renaissance man, the humanitarian. I mean, he was such a great guy, complex guy, productive guy, that it was clear that we needed to expand the film to include his life as well. So we have the life and legacy of Leonard after we deal with Spock. I mean, it's primarily still a Spock-centric film. We're front-loaded with a lot of Spock for those of us Spock junkies out there who really want to get, a nice dose of the best of Spock, and I think we give it to them. And then the third part of the film, which more and more people started supporting the idea of doing, was my own story, my own relationship to Spock, growing up with Spock, being a kid in that family during the 60s, and then my ups and downs in my relationship with my dad, which sometimes was, there was a lot of conflict between the two of us, and we were estranged for years. We didn't even speak to each other for a number of years. But then we managed to come back together in the last 4 or 5 years of his life. We were very close. So all that, we expanded the film. It evolved quite a bit after he passed away.
Yeah, there was, because I guess I'm pretty much equally like a Star Trek and Star Wars fan. I appreciate them both. And some of the interesting things that I did know about Star Trek was that Leonard, he's the one who came up with the Vulcan salute. He came up with the whole neck pincher thing. I mean, I had no idea. I thought that was something that was created before the show even first aired. But there was also something interesting that you mentioned about how when you were younger, growing up, as Spock's fame began to grow, you had to share him. You felt like you had to share your father with all the fans, and at times you felt like you were losing because he had so many adoring fans all over. Were you ever hateful towards or resentful towards Star Trek? You like, man, I'm not watching that show, man.
Yeah, I got there on a number of occasions. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, as a kid, I just didn't want to be around the fans because they would mob him on the street. We couldn't even walk down the sidewalk without people recognizing him and coming up to him. When I was having trouble with my dad, I wanted nothing to do with Star Trek. And yet, I walk around town and it would just be Spock everywhere. I mean, everybody knows what Spock looks like. Even if you're not a Star Trek fan, you know who Spock is. And people just love to have him in the papers and the press. There's murals on the street. This guy Brainwash is doing all this stuff with him, wearing wigs and stuff. He's on Robertson Boulevard in Los Angeles, just everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's at those points in time when I was just like, I can't take it, man. I just had a knockdown, drag out fight with my old man, and I don't want to see his image anywhere. So that's when it was really difficult. But I mean, it's nice to be back because I'm a fan. I've been a fan since the beginning. I was a fan before the show aired. All those pictures of me with my dad, those are all from the summer of '66. This is 2 months before the show went on the air in September. So, I'm glad that I was able to, reconnect with my dad and feel good about seeing Spock everywhere.
Did your father, him speaking and saying that he had this philosophy of majoring in career and minoring in family, Do you think that caused some of the strain that you mentioned that you guys had?
Yeah, he was not focused on what was going on at home, and things got a little out of control, frankly. By the time my dad started paying attention, this is what we talk about in the film. When he started paying attention to me, I was a teenager and I was into this rock and roll thing in the 70s and, long hair and doing crazy shit. And can I say that on the air?
Yep.
You already said it, Adam. It's a little too late.
Okay.
Okay.
And he didn't, that's when the trouble started with him, actually. So, because he was really focused on all things, involving his career. He was always, so desperate to succeed. He came out from Boston with nothing. He was 18 years old. He had no money. He had no family in LA. And even after Star Trek was over, he was worried that he had to keep working to keep some income coming in. He didn't know where his next job was coming from, and that was his whole focus. That was his whole life. That was his career was everything. And it wasn't until he got much older that he started to say, I think I have enough now. I think I think I can pay the mortgage now.
Yeah.
And I should focus on the family. And he had grandkids, and a lot of them. So he really turned it around.
How do you think, if you can share a little bit, how do you think people balance that then? Because I think we all, we want to succeed. We all want to have enough money to, not have to worry about the mortgage. But then, it is true. You do have family and you miss a lot of birthday parties and you miss a lot of graduations. What do you think the key is? How do you find that balance?
I think it is the central issue of people in the entertainment industry that they have to deal with, is finding the balance between family and career. And it's very difficult. It's very challenging. You give up a lot. I mean, because particularly when you're making a TV show, you're on the set 12 to 14 hours a day.
Wow.
My dad was gone all day long. And when he come home, he's still in his Spock bag. He's still thinking Spock. And, when he's having a drink to unwind and I can't even approach the guy.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, he's flying all over the country making personal appearances.
Right.
So very difficult, very challenging. TV in particular, because you're at it for 10 months out of the year, these 14-hour days, it takes a lot of your life. This is just the nature of the beast. And it's, sometimes people have to take a break to start a family and sometimes they're able to get back into career mode and sometimes they can't get back in because it's so competitive.
One of the things I wanted to add was because this also gives you a crazy glimpse at, people think it's always great to grow up the son of somebody famous or a celebrity. And this gives you a look at what it is like growing up with somebody famous. He's not there all the time because he's so focused on making a successful career out of Star Trek because, he never knew if it was going to get canceled the next season. And it only ran, 4 seasons, I think?
3 seasons.
3 seasons, right. And so, he was trying to make that the most that he could so he could provide for his family, but at the same time, at the expense of spending time with you and your sister and, your mom and all that. So it's a great dynamic to get to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very common problem with people who are in these high-profile jobs. Anybody who's successful at any career, really, that's why it kind of resonates with people. I mean, I've had people come up to me and tell me that their dad was a stockbroker and never at home and up early in the morning and, and on the phone all the time and very focused on their career. It's just, it takes so much out of you. It's so demanding and it's so competitive. So, it really is a careful balance that you have to make. My dad was not that successful at doing it. I think he admitted that himself, that he was very focused on making money and making his mark. And it wasn't until much later in his life that things started to slow down where he finally figured it out. Thankfully for the rest of the family, he figured out that what was important to him in the last act of his life, I like to say, was that he was going to keep his career in the background and focus on his kids and his grandkids.
Really, really dope, man. Well, for the Love of Spock in theaters, this Friday is one day after the 50th anniversary of the original series. Go check it out. Adam, you on social media at all?
I am on social media.
You want to give it out?
Yeah, or just at Adam Nimoy. But really what you should do is go to fortheloveofspock.com to find out where all our social media is, where this film is playing nationwide in the theaters, how you can download this film, video on demand. That's really the central hub for us. And all the media that we're doing is there at fortheloveofspock.com.
Wow, thank you so much, Adam, for hanging out with us. This was really cool. Next time you come back, you can freestyle, do some hip hop or whatever. So, you down?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
That's
It's cool.
Adam.
Take care.
All right, citizens, we got more Sway in the Morning. Up next, Shade 45.
It's Sway in the Morning, only
On Shade 45.